Hey guys, welcome to the railway once again, and today what we're going to be doing is doing a slightly in-depth review of the Duke of Gloucester. Now I've done an unboxing review before, but we're going to do a proper scoring system for this locomotive. We're going to rate it, have a look at its details, see what it's like up close and personal, and then we're going to run it with a couple of coaches just to end the video, and then I will give it a verdict on what the actual score is, and well, let's get right into it, eh? So we're going to stick Duke of Gloucester here so we can see it up close and personal. I've not attached the tender because it's a pain, but should be easy to look at here. What a lovely locomotive this is. As you can see, it's got a lot of presence. It's a very large locomotive. It's an 8P. So we'll start along at the front. You can see the front buffer beam is reasonably detailed. You've got a kind of almost coupling hook there, and you do have buffers that are, I think, that believed to be metal, but they're not sprung, unfortunately, on this model. Decent selection of moulded detail, as you can see. Then you've got this handrail, which is metal and separately fitted, and it's one of the only separately fitted handrails on the smoke deflectors there. You've also got the number painted quite nicely on there. That is, I think it's a separately fitted. It looks separately fitted, but I'm not sure whether it actually is. Handrail at the front there. Everything's well painted though, as you can see. Everything's got a lot of painted detail, this locomotive, which is where it gets its detail marks from, because smokebox dart is part of the moulding. Work along the side. This handrail is separately fitted, and that's very nice also. You've also got this separately fitted handrail. Kind of, it's not a handrail, but piping here. You've also got it along here. You've also got these little bits, but these are part of the moulding, as well as all of this pipework here. You do have glazed cab windows, which is something you don't really get on railroad models that often, but it's quite nice to see. They're very nice glazing. Top of the cab has a lot of rivets and stuff on it. The actual detail is actually quite good. These look like metal safety valves, but I'm not sure. Or whistles, not safety valves, because it's got a dome. But it might have safety valves, I don't know. Anyway, these whistles look very decent. I don't know whether they are actually whistles though, because I thought that would be there. Anyway, whatever they are, they look like whistles. They're very well detailed. They're also, I think, metal, and the lining is very decent on this as well. You can see the red and the black stripes down on the BR green. It's very well detailed, this locomotive. A lot of it isn't separately fitted though, and a lot of it's part of the moulding, which is where it loses its marks. When you go into the cab, there is detail, obviously, but it's not painted, and that's a little bit of a shame. You've got some handrails here. These are part of the moulding, these ones, I think. Then you've got the 71,000 and 8P. Lettering very nicely on there. Well, lettering and numbering. You've got the part of the braking on the rear axle is nicely painted in the yellow and the red also. We then move to the tender. So the tender at the back will start, has different shaped buffers to what it does on the locomotive. This is apparent on quite a few locomotives, Good and Smell and AR locos. You've got the very nicely separately fitted double ladders on there. You've also got these warning signs, which are all over Duke of Gloucester fully, because it's a preserved locomotive. It does mainline runs, so it needs to have those danger overhead live wires stickers on there. Well, it's not actually stickers, but you can see those signs that I don't really know what they say on camera as such, but hopefully they're legible for you guys. You've also got this separately fitted kind of coupling hook on the back there as well, which is quite nice. These handrails are part of the moulding, but overall the tender's quite nice. The coal isn't removable, but it's quite fine scale, it's quite realistic. And overall the tender's quite heavy, even though it doesn't have pickups or anything. It does have metal wheels and quite a fair bit of weight to it. You've also got where they fill up the tender with the water there, is quite nicely moulded. As you come to the front, you can see where the coal is, would come, and then you've got the tender connection there as well, which is a bit of a pain to get in because you can see the actual things there and you've got to try and get between the rear axles. But anyway, that's as much detail as I'm going to run through in this video. Hopefully you have enjoyed that, but let's get it onto the track and see what it performs like. So there it is then, up on the track. We have those coaches there lined up ready for it. Hopefully that's a nice load for her. Oh, it. I don't really know whether it's... Oh, to address it, I'm going to address it. Probably isn't it, or... I don't know. Anyway, you can see the valve gear is quite nice on this locomotive. I haven't got the electricity turned on. Right, I'll do that now. There we go, you can see the valve gear go around. The last stream I did had a bit of an issue with you can see the plastic moulding there. I had a bit of an issue with that, but it's all fine and sorted. Now, this locomotive, I will say, we're going to have to do a slow speed, so it's going to have it with coaches now. It does kick in at quite a high speed. It's not terribly smooth. That's the slowest it'll pretty much go without cutting out. I mean, that's smooth, but it's not entirely slow. It's died there. There we go. So you can see it isn't the smoothest at really low speeds. I know it's got coaches, but it's not the smoothest. And it only picks up from these 6 wheels. It only has those wheels picking up, I think. I believe so anyway. Unless the front bogie wheels do, but I don't think they do. There's no tender pickups on this locomotive. It is a railroad model. Even though it came with these lovely 3 coaches at the back in one of the premium packagings, it's not really the premium one, it's the railroad. But it is still absolutely lovely. I think it's one of the nicest to look at locomotives I've got. It's just so large and beautiful. But let's get some shots of it going around, and then we'll round off with my rating. So, let's give this lovely locomotive a rating then, shall we? So, what do I rate the Hornby Railroad Duke of Gloucester? Now, detail I'm going to give a 5 out of 10 for the simple factor that it doesn't have sprung buffers, no painted cab. It's also not got any, it's not got that much separately fitted detail that's metal especially. So it's going to get a middle of the road 5 unfortunately, which is still not a bad score. Moving on to performance. Performance gets a 7 out of 10, and the reason for that is when it's up running with a massive train which you can haul because it's very heavy, it's brilliant. But then the problem we have is the fact that it's only got locomotive wheel pickup. It's got no pickups on the tender or the bogies or anything like that. So that's why it gets a 7. Now value is a 9 for the simple fact that I got the Duke of Gloucester and the 3 coaches for £120 on Hattons. You can pick the Gloucester up singly for about 90 to 110, and that alone without the coaches, the 120 is still very good. I would probably try and get it around 80 is probably the best part of this, which is why it's going to get a 9 for the coaches. The fact that I got the coaches as well for 120. That's why it's going to get a 9 for value, which is very good. And lastly, quality. Now, the locomotive itself is very sturdy. There's pretty much nothing wrong with it. The motor inside is decent as well. and it gets a 9 out of 10 for the simple fact that it's just brilliant quality-wise, because Hornby make great quality locomotives, especially for the railroad. If you're a starter, then I could recommend it definitely. Overall then, the Duke of Gloucester gets a decent 7.5 out of 10, which on the locomotive rankings, it puts it underneath the J50, which I think is last place up to now. Unfortunately, below the West Country, the 2800 and the J50. In order, the 28XX at 8.75, then the J50 8.5, and the West Country at 8.25, then down to Duke of Gloucester, which is 7.5. Right, let's get back to some running of the locomotive. Right, I'm not going to run the locomotive anymore, but you can just have a couple of last looks while we say our goodbyes. It's not the longest video today, guys. I have ran it for you and I've gave you a score. What do you think of the score? Is it right? Was I a little bit too harsh on the detailing? Because I think overall the detailing is pretty decent. The simple fact that look at the painted detail as well. Maybe I should have been with a 6, but I have been harsh with my ratings overall, just so that I don't get ridiculed for doing them too high. I only gave the West Country a 7, and that's got sprung buffers, painted cab. But the problem with the West Country is because of its shape, that's not really anybody's fault, but the shape means there's not a lot of separately fitted detail. The 28XX, I gave a 7 for the simple fact it's plain green. There's not much in the way of painted detail, so obviously because it's just plain green. That was the reason I gave that slightly harsh as well. The J50 got a really high score though, because it's just completely does everything correctly, and it's got quite a decent painted detail, even though it is plain black. But I don't know whether I was a bit harsh with all of the ratings. I will. You have seen the logbook of the locomotive rankings anyway. You've seen the book of locos, and there is a vintage ranking, which I was very generous with the vintage locos, because what I do is I rate them as if it was that time, if it was the olden days, as they say, for the detail. Now, the Lord Nelson is better detailed than this that we have here in front of us. The Lord Nelson is way better detailed. I mean, it doesn't have sprung buffers or painted cab, but it has an unpainted cab with detail. A lot of detail in the unpainted cab. It's also got slightly more realistic buffers because of the material used. I know is plastic on the Lord Nelson, but the plastic is actually really realistic. And it's a Batman model, which they do very well detailed locomotives. You can see the considerable size difference as well, and actually it weighs quite a similar amount. You see all of the pipe work as well, look at it everywhere, all of that detail. And you've got the painted detail as well, and the fact that it's just absolutely beautiful in every single way. You've also got all of that. So this is actually, I reckon, better detailed than the Duke of Gloucester. But apart from that, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video today, guys. The next review is Cock of the North. Hopefully you will all want to see that. And we've also got another vintage ranking. We've got our second vintage ranking locomotive very soon. We've got the Prairie. Then it's going to be the Class 47, followed by the Class 60. So that's how it's going to be for the vintage. Then we've got Flying Scotsman for the normal rankings, which is what this one is on. And then we've got some of the pocket rockets and a couple of Thomas and Friends characters and stuff, which they're actually really detailed considering their price as well. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you very soon for another video. Make sure to subscribe, put that notification bell on, and I will see you very soon. And join me live on Saturdays at 1 PM. And lastly, go and subscribe to my good friend Kelly Ashford, because she has a model railway channel and she's a massive model rail enthusiast and a really good supporter of my channel. So go and subscribe to her, and I will see you very soon for another video. Alright, take care everyone.